Bo, let's get to the big news, the breaking news that was yesterday. I obviously talked about it a little bit yesterday, but we can both hash it out now. Jared Curtis, number one quarterback in the country out of Nashville, Tennessee, 6'3", 225, getting comparisons to a dual threat Matthew Stafford over here, just getting me real excited. The Lions fans over here getting real excited. But yeah, man, I said it before. I just feel like it's been a while since Georgia had a recruitment that I feel like the fan base was really like hinging on. Like, we signed like a Jalen Carter, like a top 10 player, Jordan Hall, a top 10 player, Trayvon Walker's. Like we signed a bunch of guys like this.
Elijah Griffin too.
Yeah, exactly. But it's something about this one. It's the quarterback position. I think you got to go back to Justin Fields. The last time, like the fan base was like, we need this guy. And so I think, part of it was, the national championship drought. It was like, who's going to be the savior? Is Matthew Stafford going to be the savior? Is Aaron Murray going to be the savior? Is Jacob Eason going to be the savior? And it turned out to be Stetson Bennett. But now Georgia's got Jared Curtis in this NIL era. But what do you make of it? What are your first thoughts about the commitment, Bo?
Yeah, I think it's obviously pretty great for Georgia. Like you were saying, it's been a while since they really went after. I mean, not went after them. They go after all these guys, but it's been a while since they're a commitment with a 5-star hotshot quarterback prospect has really been in the cards for them. So huge for that program. Nowadays in college football, like obviously Georgia has won national championships with the likes of Stetson Bennett. They've won a lot of games with guys like Jake Fromm. And hopefully Gunnar Stockton as well. But like the way college football is changing, and the way that these quarterbacks move around and everything, it's like it really feels like you need kind of a blue chip playmaker at quarterback, rather than like a guy who can just kind of conduct the offense. It just kind of seems like the game is moving in that direction. And man, Jared Curtis is a ridiculous talent. I know it's early. I know he's a high school senior, so don't want to put too much on the kid right away, but man, I mean, he, like you said, he's every bit of what, like 6'3", 240 or something. Maybe he's probably 230, but like super athletic kid, cannon for an arm, really good runner. Like he has all the makings of a great college football quarterback. And I think Georgia fans, if they're not already, should be pretty stoked about this.
Absolutely. And you've seen some of the highlights of just him trucking the dude going into the end zone, and just like he's a legit dual threat. And I think, Georgia's had a lot of success with quarterbacks that don't have, a real run threat. But when we did have one, we won 2 national championships. So I think that says a lot. Like, obviously it wasn't just Stetson Bennett. It was a loaded team around him as well. But, I think there's an element to that of just the quarterback being able to, be a threat with his legs is just it's a game changer.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the all-time quarterback commits, or like 24/7 keeps like the all-time commits like listed, like the highest ranked guys they've ever had. Justin Fields, unfortunately for Georgia fans, still the highest ranked recruit Georgia's ever signed. And Jared Curtis is not signed yet, but he would be the 6th highest ranked recruit Georgia's ever signed. So Jacob Eason is at 9, Stafford is 10. Okay. Like those are other guys that were like the number 1 or 2 quarterback in the country, depending on who you ask. DJ Shockley. What's that?
So he's ahead of Eason.
Yeah, a little bit higher than Eason. I don't have the full list of like who the overall players were. I think Nolan Smith was up there. I know Trenton Thompson's up there.
Trenton Thompson, yeah, he's the number 1 player. So
I think Elijah Griffin is up there, like top 7 or 8 highest ranked players they've ever.
Where's Ellis Robinson on there?
Ellis Robinson was number 2.
Probably pretty high.
Yes, he was number 2 behind Fields. That's a good call.
He was number 2?
Yeah.
Wow. Dang, dude.
I think Brandon Miller, for the older Georgia fans, they remember he was super big time coming out of high school, linebacker who had a solid career. That's what sucks about these recruiting rankings is Brandon Miller had a good 4-year career at Georgia, but since he's like the highest ranked linebacker they've ever signed, it's like this guy was supposed to be the greatest thing ever, and you're like, he was okay.
Yeah,
it's same thing. He never said He never said he was the best linebacker of all time coming out or anything. But those labels get kind of put on players.
Yeah. Same thing with Trenton Thompson, too, because he was like a good 4-year player at Georgia, but also like, he came in as the #1 recruit. So it's hard to really say.
I think that's my biggest beef. He was not a 4-year guy. He could have come back for his senior year.
He did. Oh, because he declared and he went undrafted. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because he had that weird off season before his junior year where he like lost a bunch of weight and stuff, and people said, he's having like off the field issues or whatever. So he wasn't like his best self. I think 2017 was his junior year.
Yeah, it was.
Because he had that hit in the national championship game where he destroyed that guy.
Gosh.
He was one of those. It's like he was like Jake Fromm. Like Jake Fromm, you just had your worst year of your 3 years in Athens. Why are you going pro now? Like come back to your senior year, get your stock back up. But
that was the weird one, dude. What if Jake Fromm had a year with Todd Monken? Like, what do you think would have happened?
I know, man. I've said it a lot. I've said it. I mean, that 2020 Alabama team is one of the greatest teams I've ever seen, and let's be honest. Stetson, all-time great. Stetson was bad in 2020. He was bad in 2020. It is what it is. He was great in 2021 and 22. But with Stetson Bennett at quarterback, they were beating that Alabama team in the third quarter, like in Tuscaloosa. Like I imagine Jake Fromm in that situation, a 4-year starter at that point. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? And that 2020 defense, we've talked about it. Like the 2021 defense gets all the hype, but like almost all of those guys were on the 2020 team too, to go with Ojulari and Stokes and Campbell too.
Brainy, all those guys.
Yeah, so it's definitely a what if
how
thing.
The 2020 defense becomes like it gets brought up every episode because we're both just like, man, that was a really good defense.
I know, and it was such the COVID year was such a weird year of college football that year too. And I want to say there was some sort of advantage Georgia was going to have in their schedule that year, but then the schedule got thrown out, and so like Florida ended up having like an easier schedule than they were going to, or something. There's something about I can't remember. Don't hold me to that, but there was something weird about the scheduling too that happened that year. But it is what it is. That's definitely a team like the one year that under Kirby Smart that they just didn't have the quarterback position, and they had just about everything else. They had a George Pickens out wide, Zamir White and James Cook in the backfield, but. We're not here to talk about 2020, like you said. But yeah, also on that list, DJ Shockley was 25. The most underrated, I'll stand by this. The most underrated 5-star quarterback Georgia's ever signed, Brock Vandagriff, sir, in 2021. Yes. Because we were just talking about COVID, you cannot convince me that having a quarterback who lived basically in Athens, Georgia, during COVID, when you couldn't do visits, like I think that helped keep that 2021 class alive, like together. And man, that 2021 class was special. Like Brock Bowers, everyone else they brought in, Javon Bullard, who you name it, all the guys that were free and done.
That was an
part of 2 national championship teams.
Too.
Yeah, exactly. Like that 2021 class was loaded, and having a 5-star quarterback. Having a 5-star quarterback in town that's able to like host, recruits and all that at his parents' house and things like that. Like, I think that was just massive.
Yeah. I've never thought about that before. That's actually a really interesting point. I always really liked Brock Vandagriff, man. I wish it would have worked out for him at Georgia, because every time I heard him talk, I was like, this is a good old boy, man. This is a good dude that just loves ball and loves his teammates. And I hope whatever he's going. I don't know what he's doing now, because he retired from football.
Yeah, just retired. I think he's coaching somewhere. Like I think I saw him coaching somewhere in high school or something. I can't remember that. But yeah, who knows if Georgia ends up with Caleb Williams in that class? How different things could have gone. Or honestly, if Brock Vandagriff goes to Oklahoma and then USC with Lincoln Riley, is he a Heisman winner? Like, can Lincoln Riley just do that with anybody? I don't know.
Lincoln Riley just blew up that whole quarterback class because when he went to SC, it just screwed everything up.
Yeah. But so and then Aaron Murray was also in there, top 50. I think he was 42nd ranked recruit Georgia's ever signed, according to 24/7's.
Because he was a good recruit, but he never had the physical tools that some of the other guys that we just talked about have. Where like Stafford, Eason, and Curtis can all throw it from here to Mississippi, but Aaron Murray wasn't even 6 feet.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like when you look at these 5-star recruits over the years, it's like you see a guy who's 6'5" with a rocket arm, and it's like, okay, I understood what the upside was there. Aaron Murray, he's kind of a surprising 5-star. Like obviously he was a legit dual threat, like in high school and stuff like that, and he had all the intangibles going for him. He had that he had like played with like a broken leg or something in some like high school game or something. But it's kind of interesting. And as a freshman too, he used his legs a little bit. But you never really saw him after that until his senior year. That run against Tennessee was pretty insane. And he had the that comeback against Auburn before the prayer at Jordan Hare was
because he had the quarterback sneak that they reviewed for like 5 minutes if he scored.
And I still don't know that he got in.
Scored. We're like, hooray! And then 4th and 18. Doesn't matter.
I know, man. It was brutal. Shout out to Josh Harvey Clemens and Trey Matthews,
who literally transferred to Auburn after that, which is unbelievable. Like
maybe he was a sleeper cell all along.
Had to have been, dude. And then Josh Harvey Clemens, I think, went to Louisville after that. Like,
oh man, I was a huge Josh Harvey Clemens fan. I feel like, man, playing that star position, if we could have Josh Harvey Clemens right now, I know he got into like some off-field troubles too, but he's just that perfect dude for the star position. He was so damn athletic, and just I think Alabama was recruiting him as like a receiver, and he was like a 5-star safety.
Matt, you can add any player to the defense that you want. Josh Harvey Clemens.
Josh Harvey Clemens. It's still real to me, damn it. No, but I feel like he's one of those. You always have those recruits that you like felt were gonna be like the real deal, and you kind of like you hold out hope for him. I think he ended up in the NFL for a little bit because I think he's on one of those Grantham defenses at Louisville is pretty good, right? Was he on that Belk Bowl team that Georgia played?
I think he might have been actually.
Let
me look it up. That was the 2015 season, right?
What's funny is I remember that would have been the 2014 season because that was
the 2014 season.
Year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, he was at per Wikipedia. He was at Louisville when that happened.
It's funny how you can remember things. Well, I should say how I remember things because I just remember random stuff. But I remember
he was in the NFL for 4 years.
I remember. Oh, okay. I remember that Josh Harvey Clemens definitely played when Georgia had the curved numbers.
Yeah.
So they switched to the curved numbers in 2013. So I'm like, okay, he was definitely at Georgia in 2013.
That's like that's the cutoff point.
Yeah. So
it's like before Isaiah Crowell and after.
Yeah, there you go. Because Gurley's freshman year they had him, and then
Gurley's freshman year because that was the SEC championship year that they lost to Bama.
Yeah, but man, I am a huge fan of the block numbers. Glad they brought them back. The curve numbers, they didn't fit the tradition of Georgia.
I'm so glad they brought them back, dude.
But that's another topic for another day. We could talk uniforms for a while here. But
dude, I can talk about some uniforms, man. Leave it here all night.
But the last thing we'll say about Jared
Let's get back to Jared Curtis, though. We took like a 10-minute detour.
Exactly. We're talking recruiting. We're all over. The fans, the diehards remember the recruiting wins through the years. Which one? That was a crazy one too. Josh Harvey Clemens. Were you following back then? Do you remember his signing?
No, dude. I was like 8 when he committed.
Well, let's stay on our sidetrack here.
Okay.
And he committed to Georgia. He was from Lowndes, which Lowndes, a powerhouse down in Valdosta, right. And he committed to Georgia on ESPN on like National Signing Day, back when it was like a national holiday, and you got 10 hours of coverage on ESPN. And then he didn't sign for like 8 hours because I guess his uncle was like his legal guardian, or maybe his grandpa was his legal guardian or something. And they wanted him to sign with Florida. And so he was like unsigned for like 8 hours or something like that. And Georgia fans were sweating it, but he ended up sticking with the Georgia before obviously ending up in Louisville. But yeah, the last thing I'll say about Jared Curtis, this feels like it's just such a huge domino. Like Georgia went from 17, which obviously recruiting rankings don't matter, but went from 17th to 7th just with Jared Curtis's commitment.
One guy.
And now you have Jackson Cantwell, number 1 offensive lineman in the country, announcing on May 13th. And he's not only moved his visit back, or
Yeah.
moved his commitment date back and scheduled an unofficial visit to Georgia this weekend. And Jared Curtis is going to be there too.
Because Curtis said he's committed. He's been recruiting him.
Yeah.
He said I watched the interview he did with, I think it was like On3 or somebody, and he's like, yeah, I'm trying to get him to come here.
Absolutely, man. And not every quarterback does that,
No.
Some guys just take care of their business and whoever's playing with them is going to be there. But man, when the quarterback can be kind of that lead recruiter in the class, I think that's what leads to, signing a potential number one class. And it's Kirby Smart. So, it's going to be at worst the third ranked class in the country, but it's definitely a good chance it could be number one with some of the big fish they have that are still out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I thought Cantwell was for sure going to Miami, but I think that Curtis commitment, man, that could shake a lot of things up.
For sure. I think and Oregon was on the board for Cantwell too. So it's like, these guys were talking.
Oregon, man. They're going to hate, Dan Lanner's going to hate us.
Oh, absolutely, man. It's a zero-sum game in recruiting, the no points for second place.
That it is.